Hello everybody and welcome to our next computing session. So last session with me a few weeks ago, we began looking at what an algorithm was. And we learnt that an algorithm is a set of instructions which we would give to a computer, and then they follow those sets of instructions. And we had a look at using the Probot, and we wrote in an algorithm to see what we could get the Probot to do. So today we're going to take this learning forward, and we're going to be using a piece of software called Scratch. So hopefully the adults that you've got at home have either accessed Scratch for you on the internet, which is free, or you can also download it onto your laptop or a tablet like an iPad and access it that way. So I'm just going to show you how you would access it on a laptop if you were going to open up this piece of software. So the first thing you need to do is you'd go to this area at the bottom here known as Windows Start, and then you can type in Scratch and then click to open up Scratch, and I've already opened it up here on my screen. So we're going to be using this program called Scratch for the next couple of lessons. And Scratch is a free piece of software that we would use in school to learn how to start coding. And this means that we're going to be creating some different codes to control some different objects or characters to do different things on the screen. So like when we created our algorithms last lesson, we're going to use Scratch, and we can see some different blocks down the side here which we're going to talk about in more detail. But we're going to use these blocks to create a code to tell a character what we would like it to do. So it's like an algorithm, and we're going to be using this program called Scratch to do that today. So if you have a look at this section of my screen over here, we can see that we've got a cat, and we would refer this to maybe a character. But when we are thinking in terms of computing and when we're using Scratch, we refer to any character as a sprite. So this is an example of a sprite. And within Scratch, there are lots of different sprites that we can use, and we can do that by clicking this button here, and it will come up saying choose a sprite. So I'm going to click on it, and it will come up with a huge range of lots of different sprites that you could insert into Scratch. So here's just one of the examples of a sprite that we can use. And then if we look at the area around the sprite, we call this a stage, because the stage is where any of the actions take place. So anything that we code the sprite to do will take place on the stage. Like if you were having a play, or if you were part of a play, all of the performers within the play would perform on the stage. So all of the sprites will also complete all of their actions on the stage. So today we're going to have a go at using Scratch to create our own sprites. So we're not actually going to be using the sprites here, we're going to be creating our own. And we're also going to create our own stage for these different events to take place on. And I'm going to talk you through the different steps for how you can do that today. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to delete the cat sprite, because we're not going to be using him today. So to do that, you can click where it says sprite here, and then you can see a little cross, and we can click that and it will remove him from the stage. We're then going to create our own stage using some different paint tools. So we know that this button here is if we want to choose a sprite, and this button next to it says choose a backdrop. Now you're going to hover your mouse over the choose a backdrop, and you're going to go to the part that says paint, because we're going to create our own. So then you're going to click on paint. It will then bring up this screen. This is where you're going to create it, and then once you click saved, it will then appear on the stage. So we're going to link our learning to the space topic that we have been learning about in last lesson, because we're looking at moving between the different planets. So we're going to create a space background. And the first thing we're going to do is create a black background as if we were in space. I'm going to do that by choosing a shape and then choosing black as the colour and then covering the whole screen. So we can see that we've got some different shapes here. We've got a circle, or a rectangle. I'm going to choose a rectangle because I want to fill the whole screen here. And then you can choose the different colour, and you can do that by moving along the different colours. So I'm just going to make sure that it's on black. Click off, we can see that it's showing the colour at the top. And then I'm going to start in the left hand corner with my shape and fill the whole screen. And we can see that everything that I do here is then going to be shown on the stage over this side. The next thing that we're going to do, I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. We can use these arrows at the side if it doesn't quite fill the screen. So if you've only managed to fill half, you can pull it down to then fill the whole stage over here. The next thing that we're going to do is create some stars as if we were in space. And I'm going to do that using the paintbrush. So I can see the brush here. This time I want my stars to be white. So I'm going to play around with the colours over here, drag the bottom one, and now it's showing white. And then I'm just going to simply dot some different stars around in my space background. And again, you can see every time I put a dot on this screen, it's showing over here on the stage. So I've got all of my stars here. So we've started by using our black rectangle to create the background, and then we've added some stars using the white paintbrush. So last lesson we looked at getting to different planets, and one of those planets that we used as an example was planet Earth. So I'm now going to go to the circle shape because I want to create planet Earth, and I want to find the colour blue. So I'm going to click this button here, move it across into the middle, and I can see more colours then come along at the top. So I'm going to choose the shade of blue that I would like once you're happy with the colour at the top, and then we're going to put planet Earth down here in the bottom corner. So I can see we've got the ocean part of planet Earth, and then we can use our green paintbrush to add on some land. So don't worry about this being too accurate, just have a go at doing some different shapes. Like this, as if there was some land on our planet Earth. Then I'm going to use my paintbrush and try and colour it in. There we go. So now we've got our stage, which is showing in space. We've got our stars, and we've also got planet Earth. And that is going to be our stage for today's lesson. Okay, once you're happy with that, we're then going to start creating our own sprite. And the sprite that we're going to create is a rocket. So then you're going to go back to these two buttons along the bottom, and where it says choose sprite, just like we did last time, we're going to create our own sprite. So you click choose sprite and then go up to where it says paint. And it will come up with the same screen like it did when we created our stage, apart from this time we're going to be creating our sprite. Okay, so now we're going to move on to creating our sprite. And for this, we're going to be creating a rocket sprite, which we're eventually then going to control and code to move around on the stage. So to create my rocket, I'm going to go to the paintbrush, and I'm going to do a red rocket, but it's up to you what colour you would like to do, but mine's going to be red. And it's really important that whilst you're drawing your rocket, that you don't take your finger off of the mouse or off of the screen if you're using an iPad. Otherwise it's not going to let you fill the shape, which I'm going to show you in a moment. So I'm going to start by putting my finger on the mouse, and then I'm going to start drawing my rocket, making sure that my finger doesn't come off the mouse at all, and then join it together. It's really important that we join it together so that I can then go to fill my shape with red, and then it will fill the whole shape. Next, I'm going to add some windows to my rocket, and I'm going to do that by using the circle shape, and I'm going to add some, what colour should we go for? Some blue windows, or bluey grey colour, and then I'm going to add some windows to my rocket, which we can see here. Then you might want to add some more detail to your rocket. It's up to you what you would like it to look like. So play around with the paintbrush and the fill and the different shapes that you can see down the side to create your rocket. When you then go back to your stage, you can select your sprite and you can also change the size. So if it is quite big, don't worry, you can change the size of your sprite to make it bigger and smaller by using the numbers here. So it goes up to 100, so that's showing exactly the same size as I've drawn my sprite over here. If I put in 50, for example, it's going to half the size of my sprite. So you can also have a play around with the size to change what size your sprite is, and you can also place your sprite wherever on the stage you would like it to go. So for now, I'm just going to leave the rocket over here. So your jobs today is, first of all, you're going to create your space background. And remember, we do that by clicking the background tab at the bottom here. And then you're also going to create your rocket sprite, and you can experiment with lots of different colours and shapes and using the fill tool. If you don't like your sprite, you can click it and then press delete everything else on the screen, and then you can start again. So it might be that you want to have a couple of goes creating your sprite and then choosing one that you would like to finally use. And then that's where we're going to stop for today's lesson. So to save your work from today, you will then need to click File. If it's downloaded, if the program's downloaded onto your laptop, you can then save it to your computer. So for example, I'm going to call mine Miss Divine Lesson 1 Backstage and Sprite. And that will then save it so that when you come back next lesson, you can open up from where you left off today. So I look forward to seeing some of your backgrounds and the different rocket sprites that you have created. Have fun! Bye!